Partiki Phasing. Partiki units. In order to create manifestation, do something called PKI phasing, which means they continually and perpetually break apart and come back together. Break apart and come back together. Partiki units are not free-floating units of energy. They are fixed points of frequency that are arranged in very specific relationships to each other to form manifestation templates. They form a scalar grid of fixed points. If you want to understand a scalar grid, think of a marquee that you sometimes see around theater signs, where you would have a series of light bulbs and they would all flash off and on at a certain rhythm, and it would look like a string of light going around, but the light was just an illusion. They were not really moving. The illusion of movement was created by the flashing on and off sequence of the stationary points of light. You can understand PKI units as representing those stationary light bulbs. They are fixed points of units of energy that cycle. They go from vibration to oscillation. Vibration to oscillation. There is a difference between vibration and oscillation. It goes from the omnipolar state where it is antimatter sound into a bipolar state, electromagnetic, where it is light. This is what PKI units do. They stay in one place and cycle on and off. Flash on and off. The template of the universal structure upon which the 5 harmonic universes, and all the galaxies within them manifest are created of PKI units that phase on and off. A PKI unit that phases on and off draws to itself other like units. So you have clusters of Partiki units phasing on and off. Those clusters are called chelons. That is where we get chelontic science. Chelons build up to form more complex chelons or chelon codes that progressively build up the form of energy that serves as the blueprint for manifestation. When you look at the aspect of the PKI phasing, when PKI go into bipolarity, where they flash on from being a sound, they are a small sound vibration but then flash on into a light vibration. You can view that as a scalar wave. It is a type of scalar wave. Each one of those standing points of PKI units, when they phase on into bipolarity, creates a scalar wave pattern and then it flashes off again into vibration, then back on again into oscillation. Standing wave patterns, scalar waves, standing waves. Partiki phasing is a very fundamental process in creation through which source manifests creation. An important point in relation to creation is that what is being created is primarily structure. Source is creating structure. It is projecting part of its consciousness, part of its aliveness into structure. It is effectively exploring its own nature from within that structure and integrating what it learns from that process back into the wholeness of itself. There is a process involved in Partiki phasing. We have the original PKI, which manifests as a neutral structure around the original concept in source. This neutral structure replicates within itself. It creates an equal replica of itself. That replica in turn phases. It polarizes into two equal and opposite expressions of the original idea. One manifests as a unit on the matter, PCM side of creation and the other a unit on the antimatter side of creation, PKA. Partiki phasing, in simple terms, is how these three units, the Partiki, the Partika and the Particum interact with each other. Basically they phase together to become antimatter, which is actually density 5 gaseous light. When they polarize you have antimatter, PKA, and its opposite which is matter, PCM. These are the base units of conscious energy that group together in many different ways to form antiparticles and particles. Particles live in our particle universe, which is called the Particum universe. This is where you get these words. Throughout the literature you will see the abbreviation PCM or PKA, which means Particum universe and Partika universe. The Partika universe is our parallel universe that is built upon a primary base of Partika antimatter units, where our system is a Particum figure 3. Partiki phasing process universe built upon matter units. You could look at Particum as the female and Partika as the male, and the Partiki the original spirit or androgynous being out of which they both came. Partiki, Partika, and Particum are standing waves. Little tiny standing waves that cycle. They go back and forth from being an antimatter state of unification and coming or flashing on into manifestation of particle and antiparticle. This would be their oscillation stage, and you would be able to see them if you were looking at them with your etheric microscopic vision. When they go into vibration they would flash off and become antimatter particles. That is a simple way to understand it. These units of consciousness always come in a group of 3, or one that becomes 2 and then goes back to 1 again. So there is the replica and the original and both hold the original pattern. Then you break down one of these into 2, but turn one in a direction that is the opposite polarity to itself. This means you have a still point. Then it replicates into another still point, and the process of replication actually creates a vibration which would be the beginning of the era force. You take it and split it and turn one upside down the other way and then turn them towards each other. This creates a force where they are drawn together through the piece of the pattern that they share, Manu, but they also repel each other at the same time, and it creates a tension in which movement can begin. This is the creation process that is happening in our bodies all the time. Partiki, Particum and Partika all exist at the same time. But here in the manifest hologram focus there is a sequence of cause and effect. One thing appears to come before another. Thus we perceive the action. This Partiki phasing at different phases. Our bodies are made of templates of consciousness units that also phase, but do it in a syncopated rhythm. The consciousness units do not all phase at the same time. They follow a rhythmical program, mathematical program.